Every year at Convocation, UBC bestows honorary degrees upon individuals who, in the opinion of the university community, have fit the criteria of excellence and eminence in their chosen field. Edward Burtynsky is one such person, and I invite him now to step forward to receive his honorary degree. Madam Chancellor, this university engages in reflection and action to build understanding across cultures and to enrich our intellectual and social lives. Edward Burtynsky does this in full measure through his extraordinary photography. It's an honor to cite the works of a gifted photographer who has given us such unique images that remind us of the impact that our human existence has upon the natural world. Mr. Burtynsky's photography explores the intricate link between industry and nature, combining the raw elements of mining, manufacturing, shipping, oil production, and recycling into eloquent, highly expressive visions that find beauty and humanity in the most unlikely places. Born in 1955 in St. Catharines, Ontario, a town dependent on auto assembly, he grew up in a heavily industrialized part of the country, but one that's picturesque nonetheless. He started taking pictures at age 11, shortly after his father purchased a used camera and some darkroom equipment. He earned his degree in photography from Ryerson University and studied graphic art at Niagara College. He has taken his photographic skills around the world, winning international acclaim for his imagery of manufacturing processes and industrial activities. His remarkable large-format photographic depictions of global industrial landscapes are included in the collections of over 50 major museums around the world, including the National Gallery of Canada, the Bibliothèque Nationale de Paris, the Museum of Modern Art, and the Guggenheim Museum in New York. In 2006, Mr. Burtynsky became an officer of the Order of Canada. He's been active since the mid-1980s in helping others refine and advance their art through Toronto Imageworks, and is an active supporter of the Toronto International Photography Festival, the Ryerson Gallery and Research Centre, and numerous other organizations. Madam Chancellor, for his extraordinary contributions to Canada and the world through the art of photography, I ask you to confer the degree of Doctor of Letters honoris causa upon Edward Burtynsky.
By authority of the Okanagan Senate of this university, I confer upon you, Edward Burtynsky, the title and degree Doctor of Letters, honoris causa.
Now gives me great pleasure to ask Dr. Burtynsky to say a few words.
I'm very honored to be here today, and that UBC saw my work worthy and my activity in the community worthy of a doctorate. I'm very honored, and thank you all. Part of, I think, it was quite a while ago, it was from when I graduated, and part of what I felt when I graduated was I just climbed that first mountain only to see the mountain range. It was a bit daunting that one doesn't know how your life is going to unfold with this new education and the search for work. And one of the things that I kept constantly close to my heart and to my mind is, where is it on the horizon that I want to go? What is it that if I had my choice of doing something, what would that be? And by keeping my eye on the horizon, there were many times that it was like sailing a ship. I was tacking in the totally opposite direction, working in a car factory or working in a mine. And I'm hoping to be an artist, and yet I'm doing something totally different. But the way I approached it was that I always took whatever job I was given and did the absolute best I could with it and learned as much as I could. And it was out of working as a miner in a car factory, that I began to understand what it is I had to do. As a Canadian, I loved going up north. I loved that raw nature, and that's something that we all possess here as Canadians. We are a small population. Believe me, I've been to India and to China, and 35 million people would be a small province in China. China has now, we believe, 1.5 billion people. We have 35 million people in a massive piece of property. And it's that piece of property, that land that we've been given, that I've been able to understand what it is that nature intended for that land. What does it look like? What did it look like 10,000 years ago, 20,000 years ago? It gave me a geological sense of what it is in our place in the world that I couldn't have understood if I lived in Brooklyn and never left, or born and raised in Holland and never left Holland. I would not know what a raw forest looked like. And that, to me, was the formation of a vision. Because what I began to understand is, when I was born, there was 2.5 billion people, and as I was going through, every decade was adding almost 1 billion more people to the planet. This is unprecedented. And so what I began to think of is not to photograph nature. To me, that photographing nature was already an understood genre. I could not teach us something else by just photographing nature untouched. What occurred to me is that I needed to photograph the human systems imposed onto the natural landscape that allow us the kind of life and the kind of expansion that we're experiencing today. So what I'm going to do is, we're going to try an experiment. I have a computer, and we're going to try and run a slideshow. And as these slides go by, I'll be speaking and delivering a speech about some of the things that I think are important in our time and what I've learned as a result of traveling the world and photographing human systems imposed on our planetary system. Let's see if it works. Yes, it does. Here we go. Western civilization is clearly entering a new phase of capitalism. There is a perceivable shift in values, and it is quickly becoming unacceptable for companies to produce profits at any cost. The hammer is about to drop on those who hold onto that aging paradigm. The new emerging generation wants life cycle accountability. Although instant results are not realistic, consumers, through the combined pressure of increasing green media coverage and their peers, will want to see that the products they buy are made by companies who are on the path to improving their manufacturing methods and reducing their carbon footprint. It is inevitable. This is not a fad, this is a trend, and it's happening right now. Students leaving the school system today may legitimately feel they are about to inherit one of the greatest challenges for mankind, and are being told there's a good chance it can all go over the edge if solutions are not found quickly and implemented. This is no fun. When I graduated in the early 80s, making a living, finding a girl, and having some fun was what I spent most of my time thinking about. At that time, the notion that the human impact on the planet was in a state of backfiring, putting us not only at risk, but all living things on the planet, was on the minds of but a handful of environmentalists. Everyone else was blissfully moving ahead, business as usual. When I graduated, I didn't have this extra layer of urgency to think about. So what to do? It's hard not to be cynical when one sees corporate interests calling the shots as the middle class gets squeezed and the government more often looks like an extension of those same interests rather than a benevolent body looking out for our interests today and into the future. It's hard not to feel that the average citizen is thought of as nothing more than a buyer, psychologically manipulated to respond to the ever more sophisticated advertising mechanisms developed by the media. And then there is this energy problem. Combining the daily energy output of oil, gas, and coal, the world today consumes the equivalent of 250 million barrels a day, while the estimated total of all sustainable alternative energy implemented today accounts for a mere 2 million equivalent barrels per day. Mind the Gap takes on a whole new meaning here. At this moment of a blossoming global recognition about the scope of the problem, the key challenge is not to lose hope. There is a door that can lead out. Let's call it the search for sustainable living and meaningful work. Rebecca Solnit, in her book, Hope in the Dark, expresses it beautifully. To hope is to give yourself to the future, and that commitment makes the present inhabitable. Sustainable living. We must face the fact that we're all operating outside of a safe envelope. It's going to be a difficult and complicated transition back to a viable method of consumption that respects nature, yet offers us the life we desire and have become so accustomed to. Sustainability as a movement holds three principles that must be present to achieve success. The first is social order. This includes a fair and fairly elected government that provides all the infrastructure to offer affordable homes, healthy food, medical support, educational opportunities for all, etc. Then comes economy. Without the chance for making a decent living, there is no hope for a peaceful, happy, and successful society. Also, for business to be sustainable, there must evolve a retooling initiative to consciously account for all external negative impacts of manufacturing, yet at the same time return reasonable profits to their stakeholders. And third, and most time-critical legs of sustainability, is to cease and desist in the rapid destruction of the environment. This may be the greatest threat that we face today, short of another world war, and failure to act may mean the undoing of all we hold close and understand is life worth living. The choices we make have a lot to do with the future we create. For instance, choosing to work for a specific company that is forward-thinking and acts responsibly, and then letting the company who may have also wanted your services know how and why you base your decision would, for that industry, mark a noticeable change of attitude in the workforce. More than ever, the individual acts we choose to make and the resultant synergy of the combined energies may hold the promise for a changeable future in which our citizens become an empowered force, not a herd. Ronald Wright eloquently explained the choices we must make in an essay titled A Slow Death by Progress. He says, "Our greatest experiment, civilization itself, will succeed only if it can live on nature's terms, not man's. To do this, we must adopt principles in which the short term is trumped by the long, in which caution prevails over ingenuity, in which the absurd myth of endless growth is replaced by respect for natural limits, in which progress is steered by precautionary wisdom. This ideological shift is the most urgent task for science and society, for professors, politicians, priests, and writers." And I would add to this list designers, engineers, and artists, because in these occupations, many of the objects we create reflect our collective desires. Fine art, something that I hold dear to my heart, when done well, takes on the difficult job of holding a mirror to our interior selves or aspires to chart horizons that form the still unknown edges of human experience and understanding. Both design and art should be regarded as research and development within our current social condition. It is my experience that in academia and beyond, we as a culture give greater importance to science than we do to the humanities. One is empirical knowledge and the other is symbolic knowledge. And it is empirical that gets the major funding while humanities suffers as the poorer cousin. I believe both are critical, science to search for ways that can lead us out of our self-destructive tendencies, and humanities to tell the story and create the new mythologies and value systems that adopt a new and sustainable mode of behavior. Now, I don't want to send you out on a dire note of hopelessness and despair, I see in students today a great concern and incredible advocates, and there are incredible advocates for doing the right thing. Change has two flavors, positive or negative. You know what positive change looks like and tastes like. Make sure you order it next time at your counter. Good luck to all of you today, and try to look beyond your present reality to do what is right for the future generations. Think of what we have today as a loan from future. Think of yourselves as good campers and conscientious guests of the planet, and do what you can to leave the campsite better than you found it. Thank you.